Hey guys, how you doing? This is False Bulls 123, and this is day, let's see, 21, wow, of my quarantine vlogs. So yesterday we kind of just had a really impromptu music corner, which, as my music corner videos go, I'm not particularly happy with. I, did try something new. I like showing you off one of my songs, which I don't think I've really shown you a lot of my original work, but I was not happy with the quality on that last one. So today, like I said before, we're going to be discussing Sad Panda Studios and just sort of what sort of games they make, sort of the genres that they're in general, and just kind of talk about the lineup. This is hashtag not sponsored. I've just been doing a lot of research on them for the Boolean blog, and I thought it might be fun to just shoot the shit and really chat about a lot of the elements that they have. So if you haven't heard the name before, their most well-known game is called Crush Crush. And I'll put a little picture up here. And Crush Crush is an Idle Otome game, and I'll break down what those mean in the second half of this video. So Crush Crush is basically, it's an Otome game, so it's a dating sim, and you get all of them fine harem-ass waifus. And so they're just lol, you're a piece of shit, but maybe if you give me some frying pans, I'll date you eventually. And that's pretty much standard formula for dating sims. But then at the same time, it's all idle based, so they use those mechanics to progress the game. Crush Crush is, I think it's the balance of the game is pretty decent. I've been playing it for, I played it before because I'm a giant weeb, but, I've also been playing it again on mobile so I can be doing a review on it. And since it has definitely, a lot of content to get through, I wanted to make sure that I was spending enough time playing it so that I could actually get far enough to the game to really get a good sense of it. So the fact that I'm filming this on my phone and I don't want to bust out my laptop in the middle of filming, I'm not going to be going through all the waifus and all of that, even though that would be a really fun, game to, be playing with. If I ever, get, some of my friends on this channel and would, do a collab, I would totally play, some sort of best girl game, with Crush Crush, or just any other, game with there's, multiple dating options. Because arguing about who's best girl in a show or best boy is the funnest thing. It's hilarious. And if you're not a weeb, you don't know what that means, but that's okay. So I enjoy Crush Crush. I think it's pretty well balanced. They also introduce a sort of mini game aspect into the main gameplay called Phone Flings. And basically what Phone Flings is that you just get text messages from random chicks, depending on, if you've reached a certain milestone. And then basically you just sext a bunch of hoes, because you a hoe. And that's pretty much the game, is that you're just the biggest whore, and you need to, work 15 jobs to, date people. But it's a pretty fun game. It's comedic, and there's a lot of, I feel lampshading and parodying not only just the genre itself, but really the people that play the genre. There's a lot of, neckbeard jokes that, if you aren't reading the script, you might not notice, but they're totally roasting. And I think it's pretty enjoyable. So unless you pay, good money, it's free. But if you want to see them, titties, then, you gotta pay money for it. Which I think is pretty fair. So there are, safe for work, Otome games out there. One of my favorites, and it is free to play, if I'm correctly, is called Seduce Me, the Otome Game by Michaela Law, who was the voice actress for Ayano and Yandere. And that's pretty fun. I enjoyed it. It had as indie games go, it was really well made. And I may or may not have, a giant decision tree in my, notebooks to, map that out. Moving on, Crush Crush is, the old chick, so it is very male-oriented, assuming, our majorative heteronormative society. However, Sad Panda was just well, that's 50% of the population, excluding the gays. I mean, the lesbians, half the gays. And so they're just what if we made it again, but with dudes? And that's called Blush Blush. And I have played Blush Blush just so I can get a comparison for it. And I don't like it. Like, not because it's dudes, just because the gameplay is just not as well made as Crush Crush. So Blush Blush's premise is basically this dudes, but they're like animals. Because of some sort of like, oopsie daisy magic shenanigans anime. And so, instead of like, talking to hot chicks and them just being like angry at you because you like destroyed their life, actual elements of Crush Crush, they're like, just, oopsie daisy, I got turned into a freaking rooster, haha, cock jokes. And then like, halfway through, like, eventually they turn into like a dude. And that's just not satisfying, because like, in the first game, you get titties right out the back, but like, the other game, like, I'm sorry, but like, what is this supposed to be enjoyable about that? Personalities? Fuck that shit, show me some titties. Like, and so half of like, the gameplay is just, yeah, you get to like talk about them, but I guess there's no eye candy, which I guess makes me a whore. But that's really one of the points, is that like, there's cute people in these games, and that's what you want. I only played a little bit of Blush Blush just for like, the comparison, as I said. And let's see, the phone flings, I wasn't enjoying as much. First phone fling in Crush Crush, you have Peanut, which is like this girl next door type. She's in the library. She's just like teehee. And it's like, it's a very fun personality character. But like in Blush Blush, their first like phone fling, like the main one, is Cashew, which I do appreciate the naming convention. Like, that's cute. They're like all nuts. But like, he's boring. And it's just, the little like Peanut's just like, hey, can you hand me like the psyche valve? I'm just like, honey, I don't go to college anymore. And she's like, oopsie daisy, wrong phone number. Cashew's creepy. He's like, yo, I found your phone number in a sex book. So I'll be typing up and like where them titties at. And I'm just like, boy, that's creepy. Like, I don't know who the fuck is doxing me, but that is a question that we need to answer straight away, biatch. And then it's like, that's how you start a story? I'm sorry, if I was a chick, I would not think that was sexy. I would not want to sex that man. I would be like, I am blocking your number, what the fuck? And then I would go to that library and I would beat him with that book, because that's just creepy, okay? Sad Panda, I mean, there is titties galore, and it is a fun, lovely time, but like, that's just creepy. So, didn't really care much for Blush Blush just because the first half of the game is just that entire balance, so you just get the goods, really. And that just did not create an enjoyable, I guess, progression. It was a lot of grind for not that much payoff. And maybe that's just me. Maybe I don't get it because, like, I'm a guy and, like, whatever. But, like, it just was not as enjoyable of a game. And I don't really think that, like, it had to do with, like, gender or anything. Because, like I said, Michaela Law seduced me. Like, that's a fun dating sim, even though it, like, is from, like, is female-oriented, like, your main character's a chick. Because I enjoyed the story from that, and, like, you get fun characters that aren't, like, a rooster for, like, half of the game. Next up is, I believe they only have 4 games, one is coming out. Next up is Kitty Casanova, and I first played it on Flash. I did not know it was a Sad Pandas game when I played it. I actually thought that it was a rip-off of Sad Panda. So, Kitty Casanova is basically similar gameplay, but all pretty much the same, like, similar UI and stuff like that. But they're all, like, different, like, cast of characters. Kitty Casanova is, you're a cute little kitty, and you're trying to get that, like, you're trying to get that P&D, but it's kitties. And they're just like, holla at your boy, it's some cute chibi animals. And it's like, it's just adorable. It's like, you're a little kitty, like, Lothario, you trying to get in that DMs. And it's adorable. And I love it. And, like, if you're not into, like, them titties or D, like, Kitty Casanova is basically, like, I guess the kid-friendly version of all of that. All of this stuff is fairly safe for work. Like I said, they do have non-safe for work, like, DLCs, but you gotta pay money, and I am too broke for that. Sweet, I don't even pay for a premium. I am a broke bitch for all that shit. Anyway, the last one that's coming up is called Hush Hush, which, once again, I love these naming conventions. Beautiful, lovely, get it. Hush Hush is a virtual novel based on like the first 5 chicks from Crush Crush. So you got the tsundere chick, forgot her name. You got the gamer girl, I forgot her name too. You got Quill, which is like this Neko girl, and she's kind of my favorite. Like honestly, just best girl. I know we haven't decided that yet, but like definitely top contender for best girl. Let's see. Then you got Iro, which like starts off as like this badass like biker girl, but then she like gets like totally like just rainbow princess. And honestly, like interest level goes down from here because I'm just like, ooh, badass with rainbow hair, that's hot. Like cutesy girl with rainbow hair. Like I like femmes, but like I was kind of hoping for a badass, because like we already got the tsundere, but we don't got no badass character in this lineup, and it's just like, I feel kind of misled, because our relationship started with me accidentally blowing up her on a motorcycle with a grenade launcher. And if that's not like, rom-com romance 101, what is? Oh, and the last one is Bonnabelle, which is like this baker with like a southern accent. Honestly, also like kind of like low-key best girl, just because I just like personality-wise, like top notch. Oh my goodness. Also, the beginning of it, you accidentally spill like a giant bowl of cake batter on her, which is so fan servicey, but it's also a little bit hilarious because they're making fun of the whole fan service aspect while you do it. I'm gonna get a little off topic here, but I don't particularly mind fan service when it's used mildly or for comedic effect in animes, because this is very anime based. There's a lot of anime influence, just saying. But I also think that there's a time and place for it. Trying to remember the name of it. I think it's Akira or something. Just gonna put a little thing up there. Just gonna edit that in what it's actually called because I had the memory of a Swiss cheese loaf. But basically, it's this anime that has a lot of fan service. There's a lot of under boob, but they literally spend the first 3 episodes of the anime explaining why canonically there is this fan service and how it's characterized and why there's just some titty in the fight scenes. But they also and they spend so much time explaining and justifying the fan service, and they have very realistic expectations of how the characters, deal with, this amount of voyeurism and all of that. But at the same time, by the time you get to this point, you don't really, notice the titty anymore. You're just there for, the badass fight scenes. And then sometimes you look up and there's oh, it's a titty. And I think that, as fan service goes, they balance both the story, the characterization, and the characters. And I enjoy it, because, the character is indeed, yeah, there's, some fan service, there's some sex appeal. But there's also some very strong and interesting characters, and they play it with, both sides of the gender. There's also, dudes, just oopsie daisy with my Shurko, some... what's the werewolf guy from, Twilight? Whatever that is. So, side note, there is fan service, but they also, work it into the story. So now that I've yammered on about titty and anime, my 2 favorite subjects apparently, because I'm a giant whore, let's get on to just discussing sort of how Sad Panda fits into the 2 main genres that they're in. Like I mentioned before, there's 2 genres here. There's Idle and there's Otome. And I'm going to explain what those mean, and I'm not going to give you a history on them, because I only really know in-depth history on one. But I'm just going to sort of describe what they mean and how they sort of fit into, games in general. Let's start with idle games. So if you don't know, idle, sometimes they're also called incremental games, though I usually prefer to use those for some different types of games. Anyway, idle incremental games are essentially games which use waiting as a mechanic. It started off with Cow Clicker, which was this, Facebook game. And I'm not going to get into the history, but essentially it eventually evolved into a lot of our modern idle games. Idle is really popular on mobile. It was really popular on Flash during its heyday, just because both of those platforms have a lot of, off period. Usually multitask a lot on mobile, usually pick up your phone at random times, so putting things down and picking them up again is usually really usable for that platform, but it wouldn't be that like, enjoyable on a more traditional console like Xbox or PlayStation, where you're not really checking into multiple games throughout the day. I mean, you might, but it's not as common. So idle mechanics essentially work as you'll usually essentially choose which you either have two options. Idle mechanics usually have, like, I guess, two branches. You either have a centralized idle mechanic where you have a progression bar which gives you some amount of points or currency or experience which you can use to buy upgrades or advancements. You also have a more, I guess, evolved or advanced form of idle games, which is more resource management. You can see this in games like Crush Crush, but also, I'm going to say, Trimps on Flash, or, just because I can't really think of too many examples off the top of my head at the moment, let's see, Hotel Tycoon Empire on mobile. And I'll try to put up some pictures, like, on here for, like, visuals, but it might be a little hard to find them. Just because, anyway. Otome games are much different. So, Otome games, and if you can tell from, like, the word, is actually a Japanese term. It's a loan word. And those events essentially refer to a form of dating sims. Usually, Otome and virtual novels have a lot of overlap to them. So, Otome games usually, I'm trying to think of the best way to describe them, they'll usually have a sort of whole cast of characters, and you get to, like, just slam bam thank you ma'am if you get, like, enough points with them. So, some examples of this, just off the top of my head, is, let's see, Seduce Me by the Tummy by Michaela Law, that's an indie one. You have Honey Pop, which is very, very popular. I watched Markiplier play all of it, and it was great. And if I think off the top of my head, I've also read about an LGBT one, which is known as Coming on Top, and I'll try to find some visuals for all of those. So there is a wide range of Otome games for all different, like, people and styles and, I guess, orientations and all of that. Because everyone wants to get jiggy with it. And so, Otome games don't necessarily have to have a sexual component. Oh, I also, before I forget, there's also one where it's like you date a bunch of pigeons. And I don't know, like, I can't remember what it's off the top of my head, but it, like, looks so cool, and I'd totally play that. Maybe, like, on my next, like, Let's Play series. Anyway, so Otome games, you usually have a wide variety, and you have, like, different paths you can take, so there's a lot of replayability for Otome games. Oh, now, I know I keep interrupting with, like, genre examples, but, Doki Doki Literature Club. That's actually a deconstruction of the genre, but oh my goodness. Have you played that? Like, you should play it. It's free. It takes like 5 hours, but it will fuck you up. Anyway. And so you basically have a lot of dating options. So there's a lot of replayability, and there's a lot of enjoyment from that. Because you get to, like, there's a lot of different paths you can take, and there's a lot of narrative components that you can fit in with a visual novel style. Just to break it down and mention, like, for example, Seduce Me the Otome, and I know I've been mentioning it a lot in this episode, but it's one that I've played a lot because it's free to play, is basically, you're this chick, and her grandpa died, and you feel sad because you were close to Gramps. And then it's like, you're living your life, and all of a sudden you oh, sorry, let me back up again. Your grandpa died, you get the house, and you're like, bitchin', let's do this party every night at, like, my mansion. And so you walk in, and whoopsie doopsie, there's all these fucking hot guys bleeding on your parquet, and you're like, what the fuck? I am not paying for a freaking maid. I just moved in. And they're just like, sorry fam, BT dubs, we're demons. And you're just like, that's zesty. And so basically you get like 5 different like demon bros that like the main character can like choose to slam. And so it's just like, yeah, tough option, but like all of that. Then on top of that, you have your 2 besties, and those are like the lesbian routes. And I've only managed to, like, figure out one of those because the other one is really hard and you have to, like, keep up this, like, really specific score throughout the entire thing. But, I mean, there's just that. There's also, let's see, the CEO of, like, this rival company that you can slam. And also, like, this Lilith character, but, like, and that one's pretty, like, it's a little hard to, like, get to it because you have to, like, choose a lot of specific, like, dialogue options. But if you choose that one, you get, like, a really big bunch of, like, background lore for, like, the whole thing, and just, like, how the planes work and like all of this like backstory to like, like hell or whatever, like wherever like the hot demon guys are from. And so there's just like all of that. And I don't remember anything about the characters or any of that. It was just a really fun dating sim that had like a really fun story. And sometimes you fucked people's shit up with like magic or knives. And that is exactly the type of love story I want. You have some romantic spaghetti, you stab a bitch. It's sunshine and rainbows. That is the love story we all need, okay? Anyway. And so you can see Idle Games and these sort of like Otome dating sims, those are a bit different. But combining them together, you get sort of the funness of like, just hot-ass anime waifus with like, a put-down, pick-up type mechanic style. And so I thought that was really interesting. I think it's really innovative because you don't really get a lot of narrative with Idle Games. And you don't get a lot of, I guess, casual game. I mean, let's be honest. Otome is very casual gameplay. It's not like you're fucking up noobs. But it's also much more hands-on. So you get more laid-back approach than you would be able to with, like, regular Otome games, which usually require a lot of hours to play. I mean, it's worth it. Especially, like, if they got, like, the full pages, if we're being honest. But it takes a lot of time. So, once again, this was, like, hashtag not sponsored. I just wanted to be a fucking weeb and talk about anime titties and video games. Because apparently I'm a horse. But I've been having a lot of fun, like, playing games like that. And I had a lot of fun chatting about games like this. And it's just a lot of fun. It's a really interesting topic. And I just like, if I'm going to be sitting here in my room, day in, day out, social distancing, I want to talk about what I want to talk about. And if it's just me being a stupid zany bitch, then, I mean, there you go. Hey, I ain't got no quality. I can't afford, like, technology or an editing suite that doesn't crash my laptop. And so, if there's one thing I can work on during this period, is having a personality. Because, bitch, you know that I am broke in that department. And so, there you have it. I'm working on myself till I work on somebody else, so then I'll just pretend. And I want you to have a great day. As always, I want to remind you, because I am a fucking sellout, to like, because that helps me, like, know how I'm doing. Because if I don't know if you like shit, how am I going to make good content? And it lets YouTube know that I'm a bad bitch who deserves love and also revenue. Remember to comment. Let's see, for today's comments, I want to hear what is your favorite video games, and in particular, if you play any dating sims. And give me suggestions, because I'm a broke bitch, but I'm also very sad and lonely, and I need some amount of affection in my life. And I just wanted you to, like, share. If you got a friend out there who wants to listen to some dumb bitch from Medford, Oregon, talk about dating sims for a half an hour, you knew who to send them to. It's me, bitch. As always, I also do a couple blogs. I have a content network because I'm an enterprising fool. And let's just I'll put a few words in that. For that. Boolean blog is where I do podcasts, movie, TV shows, and mobile game reviews. And Crush Crush is going to be, and a review for Crush Crush the mobile game is going to be coming out this month. RJ's Diner is where I post recipes from a variety of different things. Right now it's all pies. Hopefully in the future I'm going to be expanding that, but I'm a broke bitch who does not have the time, money, or energy to do so. This month I'm going to be posting a long-awaited recipe, and that is my apple nagato icebox pie, which I'm actually baking right now today. The crust is in the refrigerator. So if any of that shit sounds good to you, I'll try to put some links down below in the description when they come out. And hopefully, like, you'll click on that and you'll, like, just shower me in praise, affection, and more comments on various platforms. Anyway, guys, like always, this is False Bulls 123, and I'm going to be signing off.